Hello everybody, this is Al again. Thought I'd do a quick update and just kind of give you my thoughts about what I see in the economy and with the country. I've not been able to post lately for the last month or so. We went on vacation for a week and then came back from vacation. I went to Florida to see my mom, who's not doing well, and we came back and had to get caught up with work, and so anyways, I'm traveling back home now from a business trip, and there's a lot of things on my mind that I kind of want to talk about. I'm concerned with obviously the way the country's going, not just politically, but also economically, and I've made some videos in the past about that. I do keep really close tabs with the economy, and I have my investments, and I got out of all of my investments in the stock market and closed down my IRAs, I think back in March, I believe it was. February or March, I believe, because I kind of saw where the market was going, and I didn't like it. So I took everything out and put everything into precious metals, and I've been invested in that in a while, but just much more heavily now, and I'm glad I did. But the market has tanked in the last couple of weeks. We've gone, I believe it's 8 straight days of declines. It has lost 11% in the last week and a half, and just today it lost 4.3%. It went down 513 points. And this is after our gracious politicians in Washington agreed to raise the debt limit by another $2.6 trillion, of which the first installment of $282 billion was already spent, all of it, yesterday. 100% of it. There's none left. So we're kind of back at square one, and there is no restraint whatsoever in government anymore, and there are very few politicians in government that are willing to do the right thing, to do what is right for the country. I think most of you know that I support Ron Paul. Ron Paul is the only one that has any common sense left in government, both fiscally as well as politically. He's the only one that stands for freedom and liberty by upholding the Constitution and what it represents. And I posted a couple of videos yesterday on economic collapse, and I'm troubled by some of the answers that I'm getting. There's a lot of finger pointing, and the finger pointing seems to be from the people on the left saying that it's the fault of the people on the right, and the people on the right say it's the fault of the people on the left, and that's what's troubling to me. We're a divided nation, and most people need to get it through their thick skulls that this is not about me versus you and you versus me, and it's not about Democrats versus Republicans. This is about Americans for America, and it has absolutely zero to do with what political party you're in. The fact remains that when you're in the hole, as far as we are with debt, you cannot just continue to pile on debt. And there are very, very few people that understand the words that the politicians in Washington use and what they really mean when they're describing what they're doing. Case in point, they're talking about, when you hear about the budget that just got approved, so they're saving $1.2 trillion in the next 10 years. They're cutting down the budget by $1.2 trillion. They're not cutting down the budget at all. What people don't realize is that's 1.2 trillion that they're not going to spend, that they were planning to spend. What they're not telling you is that between now and that 10 years, they're going to save that 1.2 trillion. They're going to spend 47 trillion more than they are today. Wrap your head around that number. Again, you know, there's somebody in YouTube, right, commented in big letters, in capital letters, you know, it's all your fault, you know, it's all the Tea Party. It has nothing to do with the Tea Party. The Tea Party didn't make the debt. The Democrats didn't make the debt. The Republicans didn't make the debt. They all made the debt. This has been going on for years and years. We have not had a single balanced budget in this country since 1956. And so this is not a new problem. This problem has been coming along for a long time. And every year, of course, automatically Congress passes, you know, a bill to raise the debt limit. And it's been like an automatic thing. Well, you know, it's coming to a head. You can't just continue to spend like a drunken sailor. So this is not a conversation about Democrat, you know, versus Republicans and libertarians versus everybody else. It is a conversation about what we need to do to fix the country. And I hate to use Obama's words, but you know, America, eat your peas. It is what it is. And I don't like Obama one because I think he's the worst president we've had in ever. I don't recall ever having a president as bad as he is, with perhaps the exception of Jimmy Carter. I think it would be, you know, running head to head with him. But anyway, that aside, we can't continue to spend all that money. We have about $300 billion a month in revenue from taxes in this country, which is more than enough to pay for the benefits that are allocated, Social Security, Medicare, and the defense. What it's not sufficient to do is to run all these other things that either have no business being, you know, having money spent on, or we should get out of. One example is it's not enough money to cover the wars. We're in 5 wars in 5 different countries. We need to stop that and get him back. We need to bring our people home. We need to start closing down bases. It's also not enough for the Department of Education, the Department of Energy, the Department of Transportation, right? What good is the Department of Energy? The Department of Energy was created back in the 1970s, 1973 to be exact, I believe, which was after the oil embargo by Jimmy Carter, to get us away from, or win us away from, foreign oil. Back then we were consuming 30% of the country's oil came from overseas. They've done such a great job, we're only consuming 70% now is coming in from overseas. So you have an agency that is tasked with reducing dependence on foreign oil, and all we're doing is going backwards. Kill it. You don't need it. Get rid of it. There is no purpose to it. The EPA, again, states can regulate themselves. If any state in the union is stupid enough to not enact responsible environmental regulations, they're going to pay the consequences, and they're not going to have any bailouts from the federal government, and that's not what the federal government is there to do. And people don't understand, you know, that you don't need all this extra money to run the government. I'll give you an example. People think that, well, if we don't increase, you know, taxes, we're not going to be able to pay for all we have. Yeah, we are. We didn't have the IRS until 1913, until the 16th Amendment was passed, underhanded, in December of 1913. So what happened between 1776 and 1913? All those years we didn't have an IRS, we didn't have an income tax. How did we pay for the country? We pay for the country because we had direct taxes on things that we purchase. And I'll give you an example. You pay a direct tax on gasoline, right? There's a tax on that. And that is the tax that pays for our roads and bridges and our highway systems. Your personal income tax, when you pay taxes at the end of the year, zero from that goes into roads and bridges and transportation. All of that is funded exclusively and only from the taxes on gasoline and the fuels. You know, there are many more examples like that. The government doesn't fund. You know, another example is, for example, defense. Right? The states have always had taxes on property and taxes on levying on items that you purchase, state tax on things that you buy, and part of that goes to Washington. It used to go to Washington as a contribution for defense, right, and to run the government. So nothing has changed. What has changed is that we have been accumulating so much debt that we now are forced to tax income from individual citizens to pay for the excesses, and we need to get away from that. People need to quit pointing fingers at each other and quit playing these political boundaries. That I'm a Democrat and you're a Republican, and I'm a Tea Partyist and you're not, and I'm a Libertarian and you ain't, and it's all your fault. It's everybody's fault. It's every one of our faults. It's your fault and it's my fault. You know why? Because we haven't done diddly to stop it. The day that you guys and gals get to be activists and make your voice heard, then you'll have a foot to stand on. But, you know, posting comments and replies and getting mad and pointing fingers ain't gonna do it, and it's absolutely worthless and meaningless because you're too wimpy on average. The average American is too whipped and too much of a wimp to go out and be an activist. I myself am doing my part. I'm posting my videos, and that's not enough. So if I've ordered, for example, my candidate, you know, unabashedly is Ron Paul. I've ordered stickers for my car. I have stickers on my cars. I have ordered now the magnetic signs that go on the doors of the car, posters that go in front of my property, and packs of hundreds of leaflets. And I'm gonna stand in specific intersections in the cities that I go the most, and also when I go to restaurants, I'm gonna put, you know, leave those things behind me, and I'm gonna stand in intersections and hand it out to people. And this is what you need to do. You need to get your voice heard. You need to stand for your candidate and do something about it. If you're not contributing to, give an example. You know, I believe in the Second Amendment. I'm a lifetime member of the NRA. I contribute to, you know, the Gun Owners of America. I contribute to the NRA. I contribute to Ron Paul. You gotta make your voice heard, however that is, whether it is through action or contribution. But you gotta get something done. It's not good enough to sit back on YouTube and write stupid comments about something you don't like because you yourself are too wimpy to take action. And don't take this the wrong way, but it is what it is. You know, we have to get our country in order, or we're gonna lose it. The freedoms and liberties that we enjoy today are quickly eroding. We're quickly becoming a police state, and pretty soon things are gonna come to a head. The reason that I stopped my IRAs and cashed them out, I'm gonna pay a huge penalty on that. But I think you're gonna pay a higher penalty 3 to 5 years down the road when they take those away from you. They will. Write my words down. You will not. If you have 401ks or IRAs, don't count on them, because you're not going to get to enjoy them. In some way, shape, or form, they're going to go after them because they need the money, and they're going to roll it into some new pension because Social Security is broke, and there isn't enough income coming in to pay for everybody that's retiring. So they're going to have to invent a new investment fund, and they're going to paint it as this is to protect Americans from losing money in the stock market, in these 401ks that have bad investments, and they're just going to paint it as they're going to take the risk away from you, and they're going to invest it in something that's conservative, that you can be assured of being there when you retire. And it's all baloney. They're just going to take it all away, and they're going to put it into some super fund, and just like they did with the money that's supposed to be there for Social Security, which is not, they're going to spend it, and it's going to be gone. Right now, people don't realize if you needed to write a check today to pay down all the debt that we have, both on and off the books, you would need about $65 trillion to do it. That's a lot of money. So when you hear about we have a debt of $14.5 trillion, that's just unfunded liabilities. What they're not telling you is the unfunded liabilities, which is Medicare and Social Security, which they don't put in the books, and also the wars that are not funded, because that doesn't go as part of the budget. They take the money from the government, prints that money ad hoc as they need it. So those are unfunded liabilities as well, and that whole sum is about $65 trillion. There is no way that we're going to be able to pay that. We're going to default, and there's no way around it. The question is, how are we going to default? We're either not going to pay, or we're going to inflate it away. Well, in the history of humankind, in all of the countries and all of the empires throughout history in the last 3,000 years, have all invariably started with gold and silver as their standards, and have all, without any error, have all gone away from the gold and silver standard and devalue their currency into paper or something that is equally worthless. Give you an example. Rome used to coin silver and gold, and pretty soon they stopped coining in gold coins, and they started putting copper into their silver coins, where only the outer part was silver, and eventually there was no silver in the coins. It was the full faith and credit of Rome. And it happened with the Babylonian Empire, it happened to the Spanish Empire, it happened to the Ottoman Empire, it happened to the British Empire, and it's going to happen to the American Empire. We've already done that. We have no gold, we have no silver-backed currency, it's all paper, and it's supposedly backed by the full faith and credit of the United States. What full faith and credit? What faith can we have in a government that doesn't know how to pull the reins and stop spending money on frivolous things, and continues to spend money on war after war after war after war? I have no faith in that. What credit? You mean you want to accept credit from someone who is so far in debt that they essentially on the brink of bankruptcy? So this thing that we keep hearing on TV about, if we don't raise the limit, we're going to lose the full faith and credit of the United States, blah blah blah. It's all baloney. It's simply an intimidation tactic to get people scared enough that they will vote for something because they are scared of what the consequences will be. And the real truth is that the consequences, we need to have those consequences happen now, because adding more debt and more debt and more debt and more debt are going to make the consequences are going to come down the road eventually anyway, 10 times worse. So it's better to catch a cold now than to catch pneumonia later, or tuberculosis and die from it. And that's really where we are right now. It's a shame that we have gotten to this point. The market today took this tumble. More than anything, it was caused by people not having cash in their margin accounts to cover margins. There's no way that most investors today use margin heavily in their purchases or in their investments. But when you have a market that's tanking, week and a half straight, and it keeps going down, you gotta get out of those margin calls ASAP. And when you don't have enough, cash in reserve, you just gotta take your lumps, sell everything, and get what you can out of it. I know of instances where people had to sell gold and silver to cover those margin calls. And it is what it is. And so this is, I'm not saying that there's an imminent, market collapse is happening right now. It's not. This is a significant correction, and it's going to continue to correct. And from everything that I see, here's what I think that you can count on in the next 6 months. So what I'm going to tell you, I 100% believe is going to come true between now, July, or August, I should say, and January of 2013. We're going to see an economic collapse, but it's not going to be right away. What we're seeing now are the birth pains of that. So what you can count on from now forward is volatility. You're going to see huge volatility in the market. You're going to see these ups and downs, and they're going to be fairly significant, and they're going to come quicker or closer to each other, and they're going to be more significant until you have some regularity. And it's kind of like birth pains, right? Where you have they're spread out, and they're light, and then they get stronger, and they get closer together. And that's kind of what we're going to see until the faith of the investment community goes away. We collapse. However, it's not going to be the type of collapse I think that most people believe is going to occur. What's going to end up happening in the collapse is that right now we're not going through a double dip recession, because we never got out of the recession to begin with. The recession has always been there. Otherwise, we'd have jobs, and the job statements that come out monthly bear fruit to that. You cannot have recovery without jobs. The housing market is down 34% during the Great Depression, and it only went down 28%. So we're right now much worse than we were in the Depression of the 1930s. So what I see happening is that we're going to continue in this recession. It's going to get worse between now and January. And sometime between now and January, the markets are going to lose faith in the U.S. Treasuries. And we're going to have to start paying a lot of interest for our debt. And we're not going to be able to cover that. It's kind of like the margin calls analogy that I just made, and what happened with the market today. There's not enough cash to cover those interest payments plus what we have committed in the budget. So we're just going to have to print money. Quantitative easing is going to come to the forefront. QE3 is already working. The Fed already bought. It's buying about $20 billion a day, or whenever the treasuries are actually being put on sale. So that's actively occurring already. And what we're going to see is a depressionary hyperinflation. We're going to see hyperinflation due to the devaluation of the currency, and you're going to see depreciation across the board on things like real estate and a lot of businesses. And it's not going to be pretty. It's going to be rough. It's going to be really, really, really rough. We're not going to default, but we're going to devaluate the currency to the point where effectively we are defaulting. We owe China over $1 trillion in treasuries, and their total investment with us, I think, is about $3 trillion. Well, we're not going to pay China $3 trillion back in today's dollars. What we're going to do is we're going to devaluate it, so each dollar we're going to turn it into $3 or $10, and then we're going to have the cash to pay it for us. When we pay them those $3 trillion, it's really going to be a third of the actual debt, if not less. So that's kind of my analysis and what I think it's going to end up happening here. And I'm sorry if I offended some, but I see what I see, and I believe in what I believe, and I think that I stay in tune with the market enough that I see the writing clearly on the wall. And every time that I've made a move in the market, thank God I've been right. I think the Lord blesses me at least with a foresight into kind of figuring out what's going on. So all praise and glory is His, certainly not mine. So my advice to you is this. Save your money, don't spend any money. Don't take on any credit that you don't have to. Pay everything in cash if you must. Get out of your IRAs, get out of your 401ks. Pay the penalties if you need to. Invest that into gold and silver. And hang tight. Buy some food. Prep for an emergency. If things go down the toilet real quick, there's going to be bank holidays. They're going to shut down banks. They're going to restrict how much money you can pull out of a bank in a week or in a day. So just be ready. Play your cards right. It doesn't mean that you need to go crazy, but I'm certain that you investing your money in gold and silver is going to bear more fruit than anything else at this point, because I think the name of the game from now on is commodities. We saw the price of gold and silver go down some today when the market went down, and that's not going to last very long. By the end of this year, gold and silver are going to decouple totally from the stock market moves, and we're already seeing it once this year happen. It didn't stick, but I think we're going to see it now. Those are just birth pains of what's coming on. So we're already seeing some of that happening, and it's just going to have to occur that way. You cannot print silver and gold, but you can print dollars. So there's no other logical conclusion other than those values on those assets are going to continue to rise, and there's going to be a point where several years in the future you're going to be very, very glad that you did that. And when I say several years in the future, it's not going to be more than 5 to 8 years in the future, and that'll be the time when there's this huge bubble in gold and silver, and that's when you're going to want to get out of it, turn that into real estate, because that's when real estate will be the most depressed. So anyways, have a safe night. God bless everybody, and may God take care of all of us, guide the leaders of our country into making the right choices, and may God bless each and every one of you, and give you the peace and the knowledge that you need and the wisdom that you need, not to blame each other and quit struggling with each other. The government is dividing us. They're trying to make this into a war between classes and races. It's not about black and white and Hispanic and Indian or whatever you're from. And it's not about rich and poor. You could tax the rich 100%, and you still are not going to make a dent in the problem of the debt. This is not going to get solved by raising anybody's taxes. This is going to get solved by spending less and getting rid of things that we don't need. We can certainly continue with the entitlement programs like Medicare and Social Security if we get rid of the wars, the bases overseas, bring our troops home, start shutting down agencies that we don't need to, and allow this country to drill for energy, live off our land. And instead of spending all this money in quantitative easing and giving trillions of dollars to banks, why don't they take that money and create natural gas pipeline distribution network throughout the entire United States? So there's gas, natural gas in every gas station in the country. Convert all the cars coming out of the factories in a year or two to natural gas. All of the trucks on the highways to natural gas, all the locomotives. We have enough natural gas in this country to last 300 years at the current usage of oil in this country. We could be totally energy independent. We could sell 100% of the oil that we extract from the ground just by the amount of natural gas that we have in this country. The problem is we don't have any distribution networks. And we're not going to get anywhere with the activists that are in the EPA telling us not to drill and not to use this and not to use that. Most people don't realize here in Texas, they burn natural gas at the office because they don't know what to do with it. There's no market for it. There's oil fields outside of Houston that take natural gas and pump it into the ground to force and pressurize oil up. because there's nothing to do with it. We don't have a market for it. There would be a market if we had distribution, but we don't have any distribution. You create gas pipelines all over this country to where every city, in every corner, there's a gas pump for natural gas, and you could have gas heating every building in the United States, powering every electric power plant. No nuclear, no coal, none of that is required. Powering every truck, every car, every train, and we would be totally independent. But we don't do it. So anyways, I know I'm digressing, I'm going into tangents, but just think about what I said, guys. Unite. Don't fight against each other. Don't be blaming each other. Don't be pointing fingers at each other. The government is doing that to us. Congress power is in the division of the people. I don't know, I shouldn't say Congress. I should say government, because it's Congress and the Senate, right? The executive branch and the legislative branches of this country have their power through us. And when we're divided, they have the power. When we are united and we are activists, and we make our voices heard, we have the power. When people fear government, when you fear the IRS and the taxman and the military and the police, when people fear the government, you have tyranny. When the government fears the people, you have freedom. Good night. God bless everybody. Take care.